Good morning. It's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself. And today I want to talk about the resistance to brain retraining, the resistance that some of us have to future reality creation or manifestation, or the laws of vibration or positive thinking. We know that this helps to pull us towards what we want. We know that we must think good thoughts in order to get good things. We know this. But a lot of us resist this work because it feels like we are disregarding our emotions if we turn to this kind of work. It says to ourselves, you didn't matter. What you went through didn't matter. It invalidates our struggle. It invalidates our sadness. It invalidates our anger. It invalidates this experience that has, or the illness or the symptoms. It invalidates this experience that we've been through, that has been all consuming. This experience that we have fought hard and battled. This experience that has been dark and torturous. And when we just try to do this work, this manifestation work, we sometimes feel, right, like bringing joy and trying to only focus on the good, that it invalidates what we've been through and what we feel and the struggles that have got us to this point here in our life. And it says like what everyone else says to us, like, I don't believe you, or you don't matter, or you're not important enough anymore, or you're wrong. Right? Focus on the good only. All that bad stuff, all those feelings of sadness and inadequacy and hopelessness, like, they're wrong. And so I'm here to dispel the myth that you have to invalidate those feelings in order to do manifestation work and in order to do future creation work and reality work. Because no one is saying you can't sit with what is. No one is saying that you can never look back. You know, some people don't want to do some of the past revision work, or just, never looking back at your old stories or changing them, because they don't want to change the story, even no matter how bad it is and how hard it's been on them, because it's a part of them. It has been their struggle, and they don't want to invalidate themselves. I understand. I don't want to invalidate myself or my story or what I've been through. But sitting in the murk, sitting in those feelings forever, we'll just continue to get those feelings. So there must be like an ebb and flow, right? Like you can look back, you can feel those feelings. That's where the healing work is. That's where the love is. That's where that inner child work happens. That's where getting what you needed back then, you can give to yourself. That's where this self-love really comes into play. And this, forgiveness and healing work and everything that you need to do by acknowledging and by feeling and by sitting in those feelings. Yet we know that's not the solution. We know the solution is to pick ourselves up and move forward and look at what we do want and focus on what we do want, and let all the stuff go. Let all those horrible feelings go, and try to raise our vibration for feelings that can raise us up and bring us into this new future that we want. And so we know that's the solution, and yet it sometimes feels like invalidating, or like we're bypassing, or like we're not really giving ourselves what we need if we do that. And so we do need to do both. You absolutely need to do both. But we know one is the solution, and one is the part where we are allowed to comfort ourselves, right? It's that comforting part that says you matter. And just like a death, a literal death in your family, if you lose somebody close to you, a parent perhaps, and you don't want to let that go. Sometimes people don't want to let go. Of course, they don't want to be sitting in sadness and depression forever, but they don't want to let that feeling go because they feel like it lets the person go, right? They don't want to get on with their life and live in joy and move on and lift their vibration and have fun and feel good because they think that maybe that's invalidating to that person who died, and that it means that it didn't mean anything to them and it wasn't important. And so people sit, the grieving period is necessary, but the length of time that you sit in this grieving period is the length of time that you feel like, I want you to matter. I wanted our relationship to matter. I want you to know how much you matter. And that's why I feel like if I move to the joy, if I let this go, I'm letting you go, right? I'm letting your memory go. And we know that's not true. We know eventually that every person who's grieving the loss of somebody has to come to the point where they say, I need to let this go and I need to focus on joy now because that's what you would want from me. And it doesn't mean that you didn't matter. And it doesn't mean that I don't love you. And it doesn't mean that your worth in my life meant anything less than everything. But I'm going to move on because I know that's how I can live my best life, and that's how I can be the best version of myself, and I know that's what you would want from me. And instead of staying back here and grieving the loss with you and feeling the pain and feeling the heartbreak and feeling the loss and the sadness and the devastation, and staying back here, looking at the past and longing for the past and wishing I could go back, I'm now going to bring your memory with me into the future. I'm going to thank you for everything that you brought to my life. I'm going to acknowledge that you're still a part of me and that you got me to this point in life and that you're coming with me for the rest. You're coming with me in my heart, right? Moving on doesn't invalidate my love for you. Moving on is me bringing me with you and showing you love as we move forward together, you in my heart and me going forward, knowing that's what you would want and that's what I need. And that's what all the people who love me need from me in order to be the best version of myself. And that's a very similar to your experience with this illness, this chronic illness, this experience that you've gone through. It doesn't invalidate that you have struggled and that you've been hurt and that you fought. It doesn't struggle that as much as you hate your illness, we can still love it and thank it for giving us all these patterns, even the ones we hate the most, our dysregulated nervous system, everything that have kept us alive and kept us safe and got us to this point. We don't have to abandon that inner child. We can acknowledge our inner child. We don't abandon our inner child and say, what you went through doesn't matter. I'm not going to continue to look back at you and soothe you anymore. You've had enough. It's not what we're saying when we look forward. We're going to take that inner child by the hand and say, I love you. I will always love you. I will always feel bad about what you went through. You did not deserve that. But I'm not going to let you stay here forever because I know that's going to ruin your life and mine. So I'm going to take you by the hand and I will love you forever and I will protect you forever. But we're going to move forward. We're going to find joy and peace and love. And we're going to learn to live again, right? To play again. We're not going to allow that inner child to be left alone, but we're going to bring it with us. We're going to bring it with us in our heart. We're going to help it grow up to mature the way it should have done in the first place, to become that well-adjusted, regulated adult. We're going to show it and love it and give it the chance now. And we can only do that by moving forward. And it doesn't mean, just like when you lose someone you love, that you can never look back, that they didn't mean anything to you and you're never going to think about them again. Or when we rewrite our past traumas, It doesn't mean that we're invalidating them or that we can never think about them again. It means that we're doing something different so that we can have a different and new life. And it doesn't invalidate anything. It doesn't mean that you forget or that it didn't matter. None of that means this. And so it can be hard for people to turn to this positive thinking and brain retraining and manifestation and focusing on, all these other feelings when they have so much hurt and they have these patterns and they have these beliefs and things that have gotten them to this point that they don't even like. You may not even like them. And yet they have helped you. They're a part of you. They've helped you to get to this point, and they need acknowledgement. They need a thank you. They need a goodbye, a funeral, a ceremony to say, we're going to move forward, but not because you didn't matter. And not because I'm telling you that none of this matters and nothing that you went through is invalidated. But because I love you more than letting you stay stuck here and letting you stay stuck here forever. And that doesn't mean when overwhelming feelings come up about it, that we push them away and we pretend they don't exist and we don't try not to feel them. We allow them. We say, okay, for example, my mom has been gone for over 12 years. And every time that something hits me in a certain way, I will still cry. I will still, the memory of her is brought to the top and I feel that loss. But I haven't sat in it the whole 12 years, right? I realized I needed to move forward, but it doesn't mean that every now and again I can't look back and feel that loss. It doesn't mean that when I'm feeling joy, I don't have her with me as well. Oh, let's try one more analogy here. Just like when a child who's maybe 4 years old falls out, is playing, has a very fun birthday party planned. They are so excited. They have a cake, they have ponies, they have everything going. And at one part in the party, they're playing on a jungle gym, a big jungle gym with all their friends. This is before the cake and the ponies and some of the exciting things that they've planned and they're ready for. And they fall off the high monkey bar. Okay, and the mom rushes over. We have two scenarios. One, where a mom rushes over and that hurt, the sprained arm, let's say, they tend to it, they love it, they soothe it, they comfort the child, they ask them how they are, they sit with them. There's one scenario where the mom turns to everybody and says, the party's over, you must go home. And then for days on end, they continue to ask their child, how's your arm? How's your arm? No, you can't go play back on the monkey bars. They keep asking the child about the arm. They bring the child to the doctor on numerous occasions to check the arm. They look at the arm, they say, I'm not sure about this arm. It doesn't look right to me. They start to give the child a complex about the arm. So what went from soothing and love to this child and protection has now the child is wondering how their arm is, and they're staying in this vibration where, when their friend says to them, do you want to come play? They say, no, I can't. I might hurt my arm again. My arm kind of hurts, right? Or you have the mother who says, who goes over to the child, sees it's okay, the child's crying, and they say, okay, they give it a hug, and then they say, you're fine, let's continue on in the party and do the rest of your things. And they kind of ignore the pain of the child. And the child keeps crying and crying, and the mom says, brush it off, you're fine. Just get back to playing, get back. We have a busy day, keep going. You're fine, it'll work itself out. And the child feels maybe invalidated, or like it didn't get the attention it needed, or like it didn't matter that it fell, or the mom doesn't care, right? It has all these feelings. But eventually the child just goes back to playing, and it does end up having a great party. But somewhere inside it feels like my mom didn't care about me. My mom really didn't hug me. My mom really didn't care that I was hurt. But yet I was able to go on and have a great party and enjoy the day. That's also not great. right? So one is the past work. Consider the past work that we're doing. That one parent who hugs the child, who oversoothes the child, who cancels the party, who continues and continues to look at this arm. And the other one is the future work, where you basically invalidate the hurt of the child and rush it too fast into getting on with things and moving forward. But then there's this middle ground, this parent who does take the time to comfort the child and sit with the child, until it is calmer. And then it says, let's go back to the party. I think everything's going to be okay. You're going to have a great day. And it sort of eases the child back into playing after really spending the time with the child. And if the child cries again, 10 or 20 minutes later, it goes over and gives it a hug and validates it. But then says, okay, distracts it with other things, like it's like a popsicle or the other activities they have, and it goes back and forth. And that's sort of like what healing work is, right? This look back and validate the past, soothe the past, hug the past, allow the past, look at it. That's our meditation work, our journal work, our, all our trauma work. It's looking at the past, feeling the past, allowing what is. And then we have this future work where we're like picking ourselves up. We see the solution. We're moving towards what we want. We are creating a new reality and doing all the future work. But we're going back and forth. We sort of fall down, we soothe, we get back up, we see the solution, we go to what we want. And this is kind of a necessary pattern of healing. But you want to be careful that you're not leaning too much to the past, but you're leaning more to the future, because you really do, just like that child, you do need comfort, you do need love, you do need acknowledgement, you do need to feel like you matter and that you're validating yourself. But also sitting in that, you are going to miss the party, you are going to miss your life, you're going to create a problem where there maybe isn't one. You need to move forward. That is the path, that is the solution, that is the answer. And so just like with death and grieving, when we lose someone, we can't sit in that loneliness and despair and sadness and loss and lack forever. We've got to move into the joy and live our life. And then maybe we fall back into it and we comfort ourselves and we think of the memory of that person and we thank them and we love them and we feel what we need to feel. And then we move forward again. And it's a process, but over time, you're going more towards life than you are towards the past, because the past isn't real and the past doesn't exist. And we want to raise our vibration to joy and love and moving forward and creating what we do want, rather than sitting in the energy of what we don't have and what we're sad that we lost. So it's always a process, just like with grieving death, but we're going towards the future. And we have to let go in a way that allows us to be able to still feel and allows us to be able to still validate that person or experience or what we went through, just like our illness, but that we have to create something new and we have to let it go, and we can still love it and thank it and validate it and honor it and pay our respects for it and have a funeral for it and grieve for it, and we can still move forward. And if feelings of sadness come up along the way, we can allow them, but we can know that we're continuing to move forward. And that's where we're going with our life, because it not only honors the best parts of ourselves, but them too. And that's what we need to do with our illness, right? It's given us a lot of things to survive. It's created patterns that maybe aren't good for us, but have helped us to survive and get to where we are. And so we honor it, we thank it, we love it, we acknowledge it, we hear it, right? We see it. We don't invalidate it, we validate it, but we move forward with it. We bring it forward. We know we can't stay like this. We don't choose to stay like this forever. And so please don't resist. Don't stay in resistance to manifestation work and to creating a new reality and think that you're bypassing spiritually, or that you're somehow invalidating what you've been through and how far you know, everything that that it matters, because it does. And you can still move forward and you can still do this work, even though there's a part of your past that experienced what you did. And you can still acknowledge that part as you move forward. You can still honor that part and validate that part as you move forward. So stop being in resistance to the work that actually eventually needs to happen. It might feel awkward at first. It might feel like you're faking it till you're making it. It might feel like you're disregarding or disrespecting what's happened in the past. And that's okay, because it's a process. And the sooner you start the process and the sooner you start moving forward and the sooner you start to allow other feelings and experiences into your life, the sooner you can create the one that you actually do want without invalidating anything that you've been through in the past. And so remember, you can do both works. You have to do both of the works. But this is a piece that a lot of people don't do, and they get stuck in journaling or trauma work forever. And that's certainly where healing is, but it's certainly not where your new life is. It's certainly not where health is. And so remember that as you move towards health and healing and the life that you actually want. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.